Friends, we've organized this at very short notice, and I'm hoping that we can carry forward this effort that we have done today. There are many issues involved here which I'd like to briefly, talk about, which I'd like to raise, and I'm sure that others also can raise it. And we wanted to create this space because there's a shrill kind of cacophony that is being built up, where any voices of dissent, any voices questioning are being branded as somehow suspicious, and that they shouldn't be heard. So we wanted to create a space where some voices of sanity can be heard, and we can actually speak and talk without fear of being branded as being defenders of police corruption or whatever it is. Okay, so essentially this is an effort in that direction, and we'd like to take it ahead as well. The recent developments have been deeply disturbing to many of us. I'm speaking in English here. Those who would prefer Hindi, please bear with us, because we are speaking in English so that everyone here, especially our guests from Khidki village, especially our African guests in this city, in this country, so that they can understand exactly and they can be part of this whole protest. The recent events have been disturbing for certain reasons. What has happened is, on the face of it, it is one incident where the law minister of the city, of the newly elected government, has gone in there into Khidki village in the middle of the night. He has demanded that the police should break doors down, should do a raid without a warrant. He has asked local people to catch hold of women who are in a cab walking on the street because they are from African countries. He has asked local people reportedly to catch hold of hijra, to catch hold of Yuna, and to say that they are sex workers, they are prostitutes, catch hold of them. All this has happened, and most disturbing of all, in the whole story, the entire story we were told initially was about local people feeling upset about and being angry against drug and sex racket. These were the phrases being used by the Delhi Chief Minister. What is disturbing here is that in this entire narrative, what has come forward, thanks to the efforts of some journalists at least, has been that African women from Uganda, have said that they were kept captive in a cab for several hours. They were subjected to racist abuse. They were told black people break laws. They were told they were subjected to violence. They were groped. They were asked to give urine samples and in public. All this is absolutely chilling. And the fact that this entire narrative seems not to matter to the Delhi Chief Minister, that he is able to say that I don't need to hear this, that this is a lie, I don't need to listen to this at all. All I need to see is the Delhi police is corrupt and Delhi police is not acting against the drug racket and what he calls a sex racket. There are many issues involved here about how we talk about crime, how we talk about corruption, how we understand prostitution, how we talk about sex workers, what will be the place of communities in the city, persons in the city, individuals in the city who might not be popular with the local majority, who might not be liked by the local majority, whom the local majority might see as being immoral. How is this city going to be run? How is this country going to be run? These are the issues involved here. These are democratic issues, and it is absolutely disturbing that these issues have come to the fore in the manner they have in the wake of a government that has been elected on an unprecedented wave of democratic participation and democratic aspiration. And that is actually the raison d'etre of this government. The very fact of its being elected, that is, it draws its legitimacy from democracy. And yet, in the very first month since it is elected, there are these very serious questions that have been involved, and most disturbing of all is that the government seems to have shut its ears to these questions. Let me elaborate a little bit more about what are the things that disturb me. What disturbs me is that last year we protested against rape. We protested on the streets. Nobody can accuse us of having a soft corner for the Delhi police. We have protested against the Delhi police. We've been beaten up by them a number of times. We have, been lathi charged, been tear gas. We have had run-ins with the Delhi police over their attitudes towards women, over their attitude, over the same Parliament Street police station here, where girls have been beaten up inside this police station last year when they were protesting. We've had run-ins with the police when they have, in terms of their attitude towards minorities, in terms of their defense of fake encounters. All of these, nobody can accuse us of having a great admiration or soft corner for the police. But my point here is that what is our basis for criticizing the police? What is it that we expect from the police? From the police, we expect, or in every circumstance, that the police should be accountable to the law and the constitution, that the police must be sensitive. There's been so much talk about gender sensitivity and the lack of it in the police. Why do we talk about that? We talk about it because we know that it isn't enough for the police to be blind to gender or caste or race or whatever. We don't expect the police to be blind. We expect them to have the constitutional sensibilities at least towards marginalized sections, towards social issues of social conflict, issues of social power. This is precisely what we mean when we talk about gender sensitivity. We don't want gender blindness, do we? Similarly, we don't want race blindness. We don't want caste blindness. We don't want communal, blindness to the issues of communalism. What we want here from the police is that they should uphold the law and the constitution. When they don't, we will be protesting against them. If Rakhi Birla joins us in protesting against the police who don't arrest those accused of dowry murder, where a dowry murder has happened, fine, perfectly fine. Women's groups have done such protests. If a minister in Delhi is going to join women in such protests, that's fine. We have n number of times done sit-ins outside police stations. Even that can be done. The point is that where sensitive issues of race are involved, of communalism are involved, community profiling are involved, where women from the northeast are concerned, where young men from the northeast are concerned, where men from oppressed castes are concerned, where sex workers are concerned. In all these questions, the Delhi police is not known for being sensitive. We expect them to uphold the constitution here and not to do the bidding of a minister or a mob. That's above all. To have a police or for the Delhi Chief Minister to somehow demand that the police must act as an arm of the local community or as an arm of the minister, this is absolutely unacceptable. And I find this amazing that those who talk about police reform actually have absolutely no problem in saying that the police should be absolutely obedient to a minister. This is deeply disturbing and unacceptable. And this is one of the problems with the ways in which the whole issue of police reform has been framed as well. That it's not so much in terms of demanding accountability of the police to the constitution. It is more in terms of demanding manmanapan of the police, that you have the police being free to act in ways that are above the constitution. Now, the other problem involved here is how do you define the local community? If we are going to have decision making happening through the Mohalla Sabhas, if we are going to have local people, and that's great. I would say that if we've been asking for so long that if a basti ko ujadne ja rahe ho ki nahi, if you're going to evict a slum or not, please ask the slum dwellers. Have a basti sabha, ask the slum dwellers. don't allow the RWAs to decide whether the street vendors will be allowed to vend or not. Take the opinion of the street vendors. Even if you're going to talk about mohalla, even if you're going to talk about basti, you have to understand that within the mohalla, within the basti, within the community, there will be classes, there will be caste, there is gender, there is all sorts of discrimination. Women who are sex workers, they earn their living as sex workers precisely because this is a patriarchal society where men think that it's fine for them to buy sex from women. That this is the last opportunity for women where women are unable to earn elsewhere. This is how they earn. Very often this is how it operates. This is how sex workers live. And inevitably at the same time there is a double bind whereby they are seen as immoral. They're expected to be, it's like the Dalits. It's like Dalits being asked to do all the dirty jobs but live on the side of the village, don't live in front of us. It's like that for sex workers. That you are expected to do certain jobs that we will brand as dirty, but we don't want you to live amongst us. We don't want you to, we want you to be out of sight. That is the situation, that of vulnerability in which several members of this city of Delhi find themselves. Now, how is the government going to understand? And to me, the most disturbing thing of all is what Somnath Bharti has done is absolutely shocking. And the ease with which the Chief Minister says that the Law Minister is absolutely right. On what basis does he say that? Because Somnath Bharti's own words, which he hasn't contradicted, which he has in fact repeated, has been to say कि इन लोगों को पकड़ो, ये हम आप जैसे नहीं. Catch these people, they are not like you and I. They are not like you and I. We have to tell Mr. Kejriwal that you are saying we are not racist. This is racism. Welcome to an introduction. Maybe Yogendra Yadav can give you a little primer about political science and what is racism. This is racism. This is racism pure and simple. There is nothing else to it. Similarly, in this city, your government is going to have to contend with the fact that in your mohalla sabhas as well, there will be organized opinion. None of this is just happening. I'm not talking here only about people being racist. Yes, many of us are, many of us in Delhi are, the Aam Aadmi or Aam Aurat in Delhi could well be racist, could well be casteist, could well be communal, could well be patriarchal, but this isn't only about that. This is also about organized communalism, organized racism, organized attacks on women, and so on and so forth. This isn't just random Aam Samajdari. It is an attempt to organize around it, and our friends from Khidki village here today will speak about that. They will speak about how this organized effort has been building up over a year. The RWAs have been RWA in Khidki village has not mobilized around issues of local sanitation or the local roads or the lighting or so on and so forth. They have mobilized, they have become active around the issue of mobilizing against the African nationals living in the area. Tomorrow it will be against the Bangladeshi workers living in that area. And day after it could be against sex workers somewhere. It could be in any other part of the city. It could be against Muslims who are, who will be told that go catch them, they're terrorists. And so on and so forth. So I think that extreme alertness to this is called for. And we are here to say loud and clear that please don't do this in our name. The Delhi Chief Minister said in his press conference that drug and sex rackets apparently lead to rape tendencies. We are here to tell him, please don't do that. Come and talk to us, take some lessons from the women's movement and the women's groups if you wish. But we are here to tell you, and we've said it loud and clear, you didn't seem to want to listen last year because you were too busy saying that the Delhi Police Commissioner should wear bangles. Maybe in all those slogans you couldn't hear what we were saying. We were saying that rape tendencies don't have anything to do with drugs or sex workers or prostitutes or immoral people or any such thing. They have nothing to do with a particular community. what they do have to do with racism and sexism makes us vulnerable. Violence against African women doesn't make Indian women any safer. Don't do violence, don't defend the violence that African women have faced in the name of protecting Indian women. Please don't do this. Please don't do this in our name. This is what we are doing today is an effort in this direction. We are going to also, I would hope that from this meeting today, what I would hope is that after we listen to the experiences of those in Khirki village, I would hope that what we could do is to have a letter written to the Chief Minister by the residents of Khirki village, by those who've been organizing against racism, saying we are locals too. We also live there. And the problem of racism, the problem that little African children going to school there face discrimination, the fact that African women face violence and the police has not acted against those who've beaten up African women in the past. The fact that if the police acted somewhat sensitively that night, it didn't happen just like that. It happened because local activists there have been working to sensitize them, have been telling them don't behave in a high-handed manner towards these women. That is what is behind the fact that for once in their life, the Delhi police that night did not act as an arm of the mob. They did act to protect those African women from what could have been terrible, what was violence and what could have been much worse. So I think that that's where we are standing here today, and I'm looking forward to hear the voices there. And I thought that if their experiences of the last year could be given to the Delhi Chief Minister with all our endorsements at the end of this, we could plan that. And we could tell the Chief Minister, we want to know from you whether you're going to listen to only your party members. We know there have been, many governments that have done that. There have been no shortage of governments that have decided that only their party members have the right to represent the people. We know what we call those governments. They're called dictatorships. They're called, and dictatorships don't happen just by one tyrannical person sitting somewhere. They build their legitimacy by claiming to speak for the people and by having a set of people say, we represent the people. The real test of democracy, Mr. Kejriwal, Aam Aadmi Party, the real test of democracy is, are you willing to listen to the minority? Are you willing to listen to the unpopular voice? Are you willing to listen to those who are fighting discrimination, who are usually unpopular? Those of us who fight gender discrimination, those of us who fight caste discrimination, or racial discrimination, or discrimination against gay people or sex workers, we don't tend to be too popular all the time. We have to work at changing public opinion. We have to work at changing the tide of popularity, at changing the way in which people think. Are you going to listen to us? Are you going to stand with what's popular and what's wrong? That's the question here.